Finally, tonight, in her first State of the Commonwealth speech this week, Maura Healey laid out a series of ambitious calls to tackle some of the state's biggest issues.
Costs are too high for housing and transportation. Our schools are the best, but not for every student. Congested roads and slow trains steal our time and our joy. It's frustrating. We have to act, and we have to act now.
GBH News State House reporter Katie Lannan joins me to unpack all of it. Katie, good to see you. Thanks for being here. So in these speeches, politicians tend to start off talking about what went well over the past year, things that they achieved or that they achieved in collaboration with others. What did Governor Healey highlight as she took the victory lap portion of her speech?
Quite a few things, actually. You know, she talked up the tax break package that she signed last year, which fulfilled a campaign promise for her, and several pieces of major policy, including making school meals permanently free. Another thing she had talked about on the campaign, which was making community college free for students age 25 and older. Those are all things that were done with the legislature, and some of it was unilateral, too. Just her as governor, like pardoning several people in her first year, an unusual move for a new governor, but something she says shows her commitment to justice.
So there are some things that have been done. What about things where she might have said that Massachusetts is not quite where it needs to be, but is on the right track under her watch?
Yeah, I think you heard a little bit of it in that clip from her speech. Is some of those items are education, early education in particular, the cost families are bearing for childcare, the transportation in all elements, whether it's public transit, whether it's the traffic on the roads, and really the housing costs, which I don't need to say anything about. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows it's expensive to live here. Those are things she talked about making moves on. But, if you listen back to her inaugural address from a year ago, she was bringing up those same problems. So no matter how far we've come in the past year, there's still, you feel the pinch, even though you might get a expanded child tax credit, more money that way, you're still paying a ton of money for childcare if you're a parent.
I want to ask you if she maybe pointed the finger of blame a little bit more at the Baker administration than she has in the past, specifically when it comes to public transit. Let's take a look and a listen to what she had to say about the state of the T when she took over and now.
When we took office, was badly underfunded, very poorly managed, and woefully understaffed. 1,100 vacancies alone a year ago. It's no surprise the trains weren't running on time. So we pledged to hire 1,000 new workers at the T.
Katie, to me, that doesn't sound like the way, at least in her first year in office, Governor Healey tended to talk about things that happened in the Baker administration. Am I attaching too much importance to this, or was that significant?
I don't know. I think it is those are some sharp criticisms, right? But, we also heard her when the track issues with the Green Line extension came to light recently under her team. It was revealed that, folks under the Baker administration had known about that. She knocked the prior administration, never Charlie Baker by name, but the prior administration for showing poor judgment over that. And, I think it's worth noting, too, that when Charlie Baker was in charge of the T, he was often pointing his finger backwards as well, saying, he was trying to clean up after decades of underinvestment. So I think when it comes to the T, we do see people in government looking backwards because it has been such a long-term problem.
That's a really good point. I got to wonder, just as an aside, if that Green Line, that series of Green Line revelations, the Green Line setback, was maybe a turning point for the way she thought about the Baker administration's stewardship of the T. In the piece that you wrote for our website, you stressed that Governor Healey, even though she just made some mid-year budget cuts, has a whole bunch of big spending plans, or plans that would involve substantial spending, that she would like to see legislators make a reality. What are some of those?
Yeah, she really was talking again on that education front. She wants to invest in student literacy in expanding, the financial help that families get paying for childcare. She's talking about investing in K-12 schools, in roads, in bridges, in rural areas. She talked about doubling operating support for the MBTA and, making low-income fares permanent, or fares for low-income T-riders permanently reduced, which is something that, that costs money to do. So there were a lot of places that she's talking about spending money. Some of that will be through the budget. Some of it will be borrowing when it comes to those big bond bills where she wants to invest in climate technology and the life sciences. Those are things we won't see, an immediate dollar-for-dollar price tag in the state budget on.
We should probably hear from the governor herself. I want to just give people a sense of how she talked about this money that would need to be spent to make these things a reality and how specific or vague she was when she was addressing that question. So let's take a look at how she did it.
We need to be smart with how we spend our money, your money. That's what we're going to do. The good news is that our economy and our fiscal health are strong.
Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, but after unexpectedly low tax receipts a couple months ago, I think back in December, isn't that pretty much what the governor said about how she would avoid making mid-year budget cuts, that we need to be smart, be effective stewards of Massachusetts taxpayers' money, and then a month later, all of a sudden, we were making budget cuts she'd said that we weren't going to make. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I think you are. What really changed for her after she had said, we don't need cuts, we can manage through this, is another month of below target revenue collections came in. It's been several months now of sluggish tax growth, or sluggish growth in tax collections, and they don't think they can make that up. They lowered the revenue estimate for this year by $1 billion. So Governor Healey, at that point, it was when her team said, changed their minds, essentially, and realized they would have to make cuts because the situation wasn't improving.
So in speeches like this, and you'll have about 40 seconds to answer this, there are also things that you would expect to be addressed that are either omitted or maybe downplayed. Did anything stand out on that front for you in the governor's state of the Commonwealth?
Yeah, we didn't hear specifically what her plan will be going forward for dealing with a really big source of state spending, which is the influx of migrants that have strained the shelter system. That's still a big question mark, and it's something that she's still, in that speech, focusing on working with the federal government and asking for more help for them. We don't know if or what she'll look to change here in Massachusetts or there in Massachusetts and some in New Hampshire.
All right, Katie Lannan, thank you for talking with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's it for tonight, but do come back next week and let us know what you think. The email's talkingpolitics@wgbh.org. The website's gbhnews.org/talkingpolitics. And while you're at it, please sign up for our politics newsletter. For now, thanks for watching and good night.